welcome to a Few Goldilock Bears podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about things we love, things that we hate, and things in the middle. This could be things that we're indifferent about, that we're ambivalent about, that we're on the fence about. These are the gray areas of life. These are the things that aren't in the black and white, that they don't maintain to your precious polar opposites.
Vince, that's what they call me.
Yeah, when they're not calling me John, that is.
They usually call me Dave.
Behind your back. You know what? We're just being silly. We're trying to avoid the inevitable of talking about our loves, hates, and indifferences. Because
I can think of something to help us avoid that. Do we have any topics we've discussed in the past that we can dredge up again? Maybe call it a deja vu?
yeah, we do, in fact. I will go, actually. Okay, so this is going back to people who love to argue. I was hanging out with my friend, and I don't know, before this, we were at a bar, and I mentioned Seinfeld. He's like, oh, fucking George Costanza sucks. Jason Alexander, he can't act. He's not funny. He's fucking bald. And, like, he's just ripping on it. And I'm like, I'm sorry I brought it up, And he kind of tends to do that, right? And then so later on, we're at my place and we're watching stuff on YouTube, and there's this awesome video of like all these rock guitarists playing the theme to Game of Thrones. They're all taking turns to play little parts and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. He's like, oh, it's that fucking guy sucks, Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. And I'm like, oh, really? I love him. He's like, no, he unimaginative, just like, I don't know. He's just like ripping on like everything, right? And I'm like, I was starting to think like, oh, I think you're just arguing. I didn't say this out loud, but I'm like, I think this guy's just arguing to argue. Let me try this. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. He sucks. But you know who's really good and talented? The lead guitarist from Audio Slave. It's like, yes, man. Oh my gosh. He could play this, and like he's so talented, and I'm like, ha ha ha. He's the same guy, asshole.
Got him. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
Jesus
funny that he
Christ.
did agree with you though. Like, you said this guy is good and he didn't like just disagree with you for the sake of disagreeing. So there's something there.
It's like the old
Fine, you hang out
switcheroo.
with him. You hang out with him.
I will.
Maybe I will.
Give me his
Uh,
number.
that reminds me, I was at Rockfest a couple years ago, and there's this band called Fever 333, and I'd never heard of them. And we're like listening to them, and I was like, holy crap. I'm like, once they started playing like their first or second song, I was like, this is like a new version of Rage Against the Machine. I'm like, this is so cool. And I go to my buddy next to me, James, and I was like, dude, they sound just like Rage Against the Machine. This is pretty awesome. And he's just like, I fucking hate Rage Against the Machine. And I'm like, who hates Rage Against? I don't know. Like, you have to at least like their hits. You don't have to like their entire catalog of music, but like, they have three songs that are undeniably awesome. And it just blew my mind that someone wouldn't like that. It was like someone saying, oh, I don't like Metallica. I'm like, certainly there's something that they made that you like.
Dude, it was James that that I was talking about earlier.
Freaking knew it. Oh my gosh. I kind of had an inkling.
Ooh, called out.
uh yeah, and as a deja vu, he was the one who was like, I won't even date a girl unless she could argue with me. Like, oh my God. Jesus. So yeah, he's clearly like that's his recreation. So bizarre. All right, let's get the show started.
All right.
Go ahead, John.
Shall I talk about how I hate the retail giants? Talking about these giant corporations that sell us everything in our lives. I like just on principle, like just kind of knowing how brutal they are to like their employees and to the people that they like the suppliers that they buy stuff from, just like they have so much power as just being like ubiquitous. And like the main one I always used to think about was Walmart, because like they were the largest like corporation in the world. They were owned by this family that didn't really seem all that interested in giving anything back, and they were just like so cutthroat about everything. And then like anyone who worked for the stores was unhappy about their conditions there. And um then all that. And like I've avoided shopping there, like for the last couple decades. And then like Amazon comes along and they're like, wow, maybe Walmart wasn't so bad. Like just like the conditions at the um warehouses. And you hear those stories about people having to pee in a bottle instead of going into the bathroom because they need to meet their quotas and everything. um and like this comes down to like a single guy, Jeff Bezos, who seems to be doing nothing good with his money at all. And like, is he still the richest person? Or I don't know if Elon
I think
passed
Elon
him or
is.
whatever. But like, and like to some degree, you can say, okay, fine, just don't shop there. Don't go to Walmart, don't buy stuff on Amazon. And like, that's true to some degree, but they've made everything else worse by existing. And just driving all your small mom and pop shops out of existence. Even like your medium like mega corporations, who at least had to like have some level of competition against each other. They've just taken all of that over. um the thing, like a very specific event happened to me to trigger me to bring this up as a topic, which was um I I avoid like buying anything from like Amazon online, like getting it shipped, to the point where like I'll find a product that I want and then just go on eBay and just buy it from some individual seller. And like, okay, maybe it's like a few more bucks, but I'm, not letting Bezos get a cut of it. So I did that. And then um I see like the Amazon van pull up in front of my house and put like an Amazon box on my step. And um it was like the item I ordered on eBay. And I found out the eBay seller literally just bought it on Amazon, put my shipping information in it, and then took like a cut of the money because like I was willing to pay extra to not buy it from Amazon. So that was like the first and only bad feedback I've ever left on eBay, because I'm like, this was like the exact thing I was like trying to avoid. Like I couldn't believe they did that. But like, they have like deals worked out with their like the people who sell stuff on Amazon. Like you are not allowed to sell this item anywhere else cheaper than you sell it here, even though like they're taking a bigger cut out of everything than most sellers would. So that means like they have kind of an like a artificial way that they're having like lower prices for stuff. Um, and like all these stores like Walmart or Costco or Target or whoever, like they have deals with their suppliers, the same thing. Like you have to sell to us at a lower price than you would sell to anyone else. So if you're like a mom and pop shop, you can't buy like, at cost, or, like at I don't, what do you call it? Not in bulk, but wholesale. You
Hmm.
cannot buy items for as cheap as you can buy them by going to one of these giant stores, because of those like deals that have been worked out. And then like I mentioned, I love co-ops and stuff just because like I don't like being in a store that big. Like there's just too many people. It's like too much chaos to just go and get a couple items that I want. Like I just like a smaller environment that is just gonna have what I want and I can get in and out. And like I'm a big believer in, voting with your dollar. I try to shop at places like based on like, oh, would I be bummed if this place didn't exist anymore? And like, okay, well, this Target store would not give a shit if it didn't exist anymore. But like, this store down the road, I would be really bummed if it went away. So that's what I try to do. But um, so that avoiding Amazon and then the guy forcing my hand to buy Amazon, that really triggered me to rant about this.
That's so messed up. Yeah. Dave, you go ahead. I don't have too much to offer, actually.
Um, like I agree. I think a lot of it is weird that like I was gonna ask you as like what I thought of like before we talked about this topic. I was wondering if you're gonna include Amazon because like Amazon has become like the internet version where everybody sends stuff to that. And yeah, like I totally agree because I can't stand Amazon. However, like I still find myself buying stuff on Amazon a lot, probably too much, and I and it's probably just a laziness thing to not actually look to find other places to buy it online because I probably could. Um, but like the town I live in, like you have to shop at Walmart or there's like this other grocery store that's also a big corporation. And even if you avoid that, like there's uh there's different content creators online where they show like all the barbecue sauce in the grocery store and they're like you see all these different brands and you have this illusion of choice, but it's actually like only these certain mega corporations that own all of this
No.
and there's very few things that are actually like family owned.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like in the end, like it doesn't even matter where you're buying it from because like the same or few people are selling the products to them anyway. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, and like you can do research on it and find like there's like if you go like to get toothpaste or shampoo or something, you're like, yeah, you get Tom's toothpaste. You're like, oh, it sounds like it's a family-owned company. It's like, and it was up until this date when they got sold out to, Colgate or Oral-B or Crest or whatever, Procter and Gamble or whatever company owns them. And then it's like they don't even put that corporation's name on the box. It's that you think it's a family-owned company, but it's not. It's kind of crazy. But I feel like in the town I live in, I don't have any choice other than to shop at a lot of these things with like big retail stores. But like with restaurants, there's definitely like family-owned restaurants that I can eat at, and I try to go to those. And I think about like, oh, this one's locally owned. Um, and I don't want to go to Taco Bell because there's like a dozen different authentic Mexican restaurants I can eat at. And I don't want to go to the couple that are a chain restaurant. I want it to be like family owned, locally owned, and like kind of support those people. Um, yeah, I like I like you kind of mentioned it how like the middle of the road retail stores like Sears and Kmart like they've like fallen off and a lot of those have gotten run out of business. And it's I don't know, it just sucks. It's just kind of like how our system is set up where it's like you only get to the top by like being ruthless and like chopping off the heads of your enemies and like not helping anything. That's what gets you to the top and it's like it's just fucked up and sad.
Isn't Nestle one of these umbrella corporations where they like just buy everything?
Yeah,
I
for
th
sure.
They buy the
um
water in the ground.
yeah, oh my gosh, that's oh. I do for the past, I don't know, couple years, I've avoided Walmart as much as possible. Instead I go to Festival Foods. I don't think it's as big. I think it's more kind of in the middle, I think. But man, are they expensive. But when you go in there, like even on a typical busy day, it's not, it's very sparse. And you don't get the same types of riffraff that you would get in a Walmart. I mean, there's like memes. There's like isn't there like Reddit threads
Yeah,
about
people of Walmart.
yeah, yeah. And you don't see that in festival foods. I always pay way more than I want. Well, not way more, but I do pay more when I go there. But it's worth that fucking like, oh, I'm not, there's barely anyone here. If anything, I'm the riffraff. So
That's the
it's
dream.
yeah, yes. I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member. Yeah, that's
I went
yeah.
I went to Wisconsin for last Thanksgiving, and I stopped at Festival Foods just to pick up a few things. And I was just like, I got to the front of the store to check out, and it was like really busy. It was like, I think it was like the day after Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving or something. So it's packed with people shopping. And I'm like, oh, the checkout is going to be unbearable. I get up there, they have every register has a cashier at it. There's multiple people who are just like, oh, come over here, come to my lane. Like there's no self checkouts. You just go right up there, the cashier checks you out, and you're out of the door. And I'm like, man, this experience is so different from Walmart. I was just like blown away by how awesome it was.
Well, festival, at least the one I go to now, they also have self checkouts. So unless, if I'm not buying alcohol, which is such a rarity, I will do the self checkouts. Yeah, which is so nice. Oh my God. And they are super friendly. They'll be like, hi. And I'll look around, like, who said hi? And there's some
Me?
random worker. It's like, hi. I'm like, hi. Yeah. Let me just go
You're like
buy some.
the night at the Roxbury guys. Like me, me.
Emilio.
Oh my gosh. That happens to me like at work where someone will randomly like say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Are you, there's someone behind me, right? You're not talking to me?" I legit had this. Somebody said hello to me as they were walking in front of me, but they never turned around to say hello. They're just like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "No, that's not how this works." Like
you're you're on your
yeah,
phone?
I was so confused, and I just didn't respond by saying anything. And I'm like, are they on their phone? But they never like looked and acknowledged me. I was so confused.
And they called you Mr. Stuck Up for the rest
I
of the
was like,
day.
whatever.
You're just like Vince at that powwow. Uh, anything else? I mean, it sucks. That's all. Like it's
Well,
crazy
I
how
know,
much
like
money can buy.
the um Dave, you saying like that's your only option in the town, like that's exactly their their goal and their dream, and they've been successful in way too many places.
Yeah, that makes me think. I'm like, I gotta go online and find different places to get stuff. But there is like certain things like that I get from Sam's Club, and I just have it shipped to my door, and it's so convenient to get like toilet paper and just like the Sam's Club bulk items just delivered to my door for free, like free shipping. And it's like so cheap that way that it's like, how can I not do it?
Whoa. Wait, for some reason I tie Sam's Club with Walmart. Isn't that a thing? A
Yeah,
partnership?
it's the same
Yeah, they're
same
the same
company.
owners.
Ah, yeah. Anything else? Or segue challenge
No, what?
into hmm. All those sales, all that money impresses Jeff Bezos.
Oh,
and
all
and don't we
right,
all
I'll go
want to
next.
do
But
that?
before,
Impress our
yeah,
the Bezoses of our life?
did Jeff Bezos? He spent a bunch of money on a rocket to send his like fiance or wife and like some other B-list celebrities to space or the edge of space. Oh, that's so funny.
Well, unfortunately, they came back.
I was half convinced he was doing it, and to be like, "Oh no, an accident! Whoops!
Oh, the
Problem solved."
Challenger too. Oh
That
no.
would be like the biggest evil billionaire thing ever. Just like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, Vince, right. Like, why'd you call the rocket the Challenger 2?
TOO.
Oh. So my next topic is I'm indifferent to trying to impress my boss. And I'm not talking specifically about just the boss I have now. Like, bosses change. I got a new boss like a year ago or something like that. Before I got a new boss, we had no boss, and having no boss was kind of my favorite boss I've ever had. Because then it's like, oh, no accountability. As long as I show up and clock in, and I don't get any bad feedback, we're in the clear. Um, but like for like when we get a new boss in our department, there's so many different employees who are like, I'm gonna kiss ass. I'm gonna go above and beyond and like show that I'm a go-getter and I'm gonna do all these extra things to like try and impress them or like make them like be friends with them, and it's also maybe when their review comes around or their pay raise, they can get an extra dollar here or there. Like you can chase like an extra dollar, but I'm not gonna like compromise my own fucking self-worth to be a fucking suck up just to get an extra dollar. I think that's stupid. And like myself, I'm pretty reserved and
Self.
quiet. I'm um like just like I don't want to like be super like vocal like, hey, notice me, I do this right and I do this right and I do this right. I'm like, my boss rarely comes around but like a couple times a day, so he's not always there watching me do my job. So like the best way I think for my boss to notice me is to just notice how my own coworkers that I work with side by side every day, like how they treat me and how they talk about me. That is like what's most important to me is like I'm just going to be really good to my own coworkers because they're my friends and they're my coworkers. I work side by side with them and how they treat me. My boss over time will notice that and be like, "Oh yeah, Dave, everyone talks very highly of you. You're never a problem." Like that's kind of what I go for is to just be unnoticed a little bit, like not go above and beyond, but like a good boss will notice that you're just, meat and potatoes, kind of like a lunch pail, tie up your bootstraps, all the corny cliches of just like, he shows up every day. I don't hear complaints. He does his job. Um, Anytime I've had like a brief interaction, like it's always cordial and I'm respectful, but like I'm never gonna, but there is like that line, and I'm never gonna go above and beyond it. I'm not gonna do extra work. I'm not gonna take on extra projects. If you ask me to do something extra, I'm probably, my first reaction is I'm just gonna chuckle and laugh and be like, yeah, I don't really have time for that, or like, no, not gonna happen. And once they get that response a couple times, they stop asking for favors. And I'm like, that's good because I'm like, if it's not in my job description, I'm not gonna do it. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm here to do my job. And if you want to delegate your own job, like a lot of bosses always want to delegate their own job and have other people do their stuff. Like, no, I'm not picking up your slack and like doing work for you.
Hmm.
I don't know. That's all I have to really say.
I really like the philosophy of let your boss gain their opinion from your peers because like in the corporate world, I know so many people where like the person has managed to make their boss like them, but everyone around them hates them just because like they're just manipulative and just all they're doing is playing the politics game and they're not like just doing their good job and like being a good corporate citizen and all that. Like they just like manage to like know how to make themselves look good to their boss, take credit for other people's stuff, like all that kind of shit. And it just sucks.
Yeah, I noticed I had certain coworkers that I always just thought they were well liked in the department. And then with a new boss, their personalities like changed and like their ambitions changed, it seemed like. And suddenly, like everybody doesn't like them now because we got a new boss and they're just acting like a different person at work. And we're all like, I thought you were on our side, but no, you're on their side. And it's just like, it's very strange.
Um, okay, so you guys ever hear of Undercover Boss?
Yeah.
The television show, yes.
Yeah, that literally happened. Well, it not exactly, but like this woman came in and she was just a worker, just like you or me. And so I interacted with her, like, just like, hi, this is what's going on. I would just do my job. And then, like, I think 2 months, 3 months later, there was this text and like, hey, she is now the owner. She bought the company. And like, immediately I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't hit on her or do any of that shit. Like, I'm so glad I just played it straight, was just a good worker, treated her like any other person.
It could
Um,
have been your ticket to the top, Vince. You should have hit on her.
oh man, I did kind of hook up with a boss, but that was after the fact, after I stopped working with her. That was bizarre. Like I remember I'm like, I used to like have to report to you while I'm feeling her up. You know what I mean? It was so bizarre. Um, but yeah, like the whole like what is it? Impressing the boss. Yeah, it's mostly just the work will speak for itself for sure. I'm trying to think if I turn down. I usually do them like if they ask me to do it. I'm like, okay. I mean, like, if I really have the time and stuff, I'll do it. But if they start to like overdo with the like, hey, can you do this now? It's like, oh no, I don't have time. But when you need me to do this other thing that you have me do, yeah, that's fine. I'll kind of like draw a line after a while. Um, yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
about
like
it.
for me, like if I can do the thing they want within my normal like working hours and stuff, then why not? Like I guess my job description is whatever needs to be done, even if it's not my favorite thing to do. But like, working overtime for free or that kind of stuff, like, yeah, no way.
Um, we mentioned something about like, oh, whether festival foods, right? Like someone will be like, "Hi," and you'll be like, who said hi?" Right? I had a boss who she would do that like all the time. I'm like walking, and I just hear Vince, and I kind of like stop. I look around, and there she is. She's not looking at me. It looks like she's like doing something else, right? So I'll go up and like, hey, what's up? And we'll talk. And she kept doing it. I was wondering why. But then eventually it became clear. It was an all female work environment. Like I was the only guy, right? And so whenever she wanted to talk to me, it had to be kind of like quiet and on the down low, right? Because those like the
I
girls
was gonna say, it
gossiped.
sounds like you're, like having a discussion with like a spy or something like, no, don't look at me.
She's like
Look at
reading
the
the newspaper.
newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just one of those things because, like not all women are like this, but that particular group was pretty gossipy. And she was a married woman. And I imagine they were like, oh my God, like, you notice that how she's always wants to talk to Vince and stuff like that? Um, they would kind of be right. On her last day before she quit or before she moved to a different branch or whatever, there was a slight touch of the arm, like a very familiar, like, oh, that's what a woman does when she's kind of like likes you a little bit. We never did anything, but there was these little moments. I'm like, does she like me in some weird way? So yeah, that's all I gotta
Did
say
I've
about
had
did her
that.
bosses.
friends push her into you?
Yeah, HR was like, shove.
I've had that with like there's like certain nurses at the hospital where you see them all the time and it's like rarely like you'll small talk, hey, what's up? How's it going? And like you'll talk to them about like stuff that you need to talk about. But then all of a sudden, like one of the nurses will have like a student nurse with them who's like younger, and then suddenly their personality towards me is like changed because I'm like the only guy around. Suddenly they're like flirting with me, like, oh yeah, he likes to talk to me. And I'm like, what do you? I'm like, you haven't talked to me in like 2 months, and then suddenly you have a student next to you, and suddenly you're acting like you're my best friend. I'm just like, leave me the fuck alone.
That is weird when someone new shows up and all of a sudden the dynamics just change for some reason. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal around here. Just ask Dave.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to think of other bosses. Oh, I had a horrible boss, to quote a movie title. He was like ornery. He had such a short temper. And I remember when I wanted to, I don't know what it was actually, but like he was like right in my face. Like no one was around. I think he picked this particular aisle in IGA so he could yell at me and do this bullshit. He was like right here and he's like, you want to, I don't even remember what he was bitching me, but like he was like right there and like, I'm shy. I'm looking around. I'm like, yeah, but he's like, who are you looking at? Is there anyone else here? Like just horrible. I was like, I was thinking, like, how could anyone treat anyone this way and get away with it and stuff? But apparently he was a gigantic asshole to other people. And I did not, like, I don't know. I don't think I could impress that guy. I did my work as much as I could, but he would just show up like a hurricane and be like, well, I'd seen better than this. And just, it was horrible. Um, I am glad to hear, like years later, I was like, hey, remember that fucking boss? They're like, yeah, he got divorced and lost everything. I'm like, yeah, all right, that's so sweet.
Karma. Woohoo.
Yeah. I hope his ex-wife was like, who are you looking at? There's no one else here. Fucking prick. Oh my God.
Look the divorce lawyer in the eyes.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like one other thing about doing something at work that's extra that I don't like to do and I kind of refuse to do is they want us to like hand out like they want patients at our hospital to like leave a review when they send them like an email after their visit to like leave a good review. And they want us to hand out like mention that and be like, oh, if you get an email, please leave us a good review, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, no, I'm not asking my patients to leave a good review. Like, I will do my job and I will do it well. And if they want to leave a review, they can. I'm not gonna beg for reviews and like so you can get a high rating score for you. Like, I'm not gonna sell myself out. It was like the same when I worked at Target and they're like, we want you to try and promote the Target Red Card and get people to sign up. And I'm like, this, I don't care about this. Like, I'm not gonna try and get people to sign up for your weird credit card. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that sucks. But remember to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
Yes. Do as I say, not as I do.
Oh man, so I think it was like one of my first summer jobs, maybe. I'm not sure. But there was this guy that like we kind of knew already. It was like a friend of the family or a friend of my dad's from way back or something like that. And I was working for him and just, I'm gonna do my job and stuff. And then later on, they hired my friend Andy, and immediately we were just like having fun on, at work and stuff. And eventually my boss is like, Vince, like you were a hard worker. And then all of a sudden you're like lollygagging with this Andy. Like, what's going on? Like he really just like sat me down. He's like, you're a hard worker. Why are you acting like this? I'm like, oh, like I didn't even realize it, but that's me and Andy. Like we got in trouble Like he's the guy who like carved corn in his fucking wrists and shit like that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think he and I together aren't good influences on each other. That's basically what he said too. He's like, I don't like it when you two are together and stuff like that.
Smiling and having fun. How dare you?
No, we were slacking off a bit. Yeah. Like I didn't clean as much and blah blah blah. Yeah, he took notice. There was a boss that was actually kind of cool, but in the weirdest way. I think he was almost like an uncle um on my stepdad's side or something like that. And it was a summer job and it was just like five of us. They were all like four grown ass men. And then there was me. I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. We're working on this ranch. And like that's like helped build my dirty joke encyclopedia in my mind because they had like the dirtiest jokes. And like he was like, he would always call me Pee Wee and shit like that. And like incredibly inappropriate jokes. He liked me. He was like, you're a good worker, but that almost made him tell even dirtier jokes and stuff like that. Like I'd have my shirt off. He's like, "Wow, your nipples are getting bigger." And so like, just like, what the fuck? Like, just oh my god, I heard the nastiest shit working with those guys. But he was like, "You're a good worker." You know, like every once in a while he'd shut that shit down. And like, "Hey, thanks for working, Vince." You know, I'm like, ah, okay. That was weird. Segway challenge.
Let me check my notes here.
I'm not going to come up with a segue just to impress you, Vince. You're not my boss.
I am not the boss. Holy shit. Yes. Do not try to impress me. Um yeah, I'll take that. All right. So let's talk about my love. And it's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, right away, I'll just say this. I had social anxiety like really bad. Like I was a shy kid to begin with. And then my mom took me out of public school, so I would just be homeschooled throughout middle school, and then she let me go back into high school, right? And immediately I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but there's so many people here. They're kind of assholes, or they're ignoring me. Like it was just terrible. And then there's fucking racist hick kids giving me shit, you know? Um, so I was just like, I can't deal with this. And I basically just kind of shut down. I don't remember shit from freshman year, you know? I completely shut down. Didn't talk to anyone because no one was fucking talking to me, besides the fucking bullies, you know? So over the summer, I'm like, okay, shit, sophomore year's coming up. I don't want to do this again. I mean, I don't want to experience that again. I need to do something different. And we always had books in the house, books of all sorts or whatever. And so I was looking at my mom's books and it was, how to win friends and influence people. And it was really old looking, but I was like, well, this has to be like an answer here. Like the whole title's like, well, win friends. And okay, yeah. I started to read it and immediately it was like, be a kind person, be sincere when you meet people, smile, ask them questions about them. It was like psychology, which I kind of like anyways. I'm into psychology. And there was stuff like if you're wrong, admit it, and that's fucking Buddhism right there, which I also would later go on to love. There's so many things, just the breakdown of what it is to be human. It's just like, um remember that a person's name to that person is the sweetest and most important sound in any language. And that's totally true. Like I started to apply these things when I got into high school. And it was like night and day. Like people were responding. I was like making friends. Um did I
You were influencing people.
I never said I won those friends. Um but yeah, it's just like, encourage others to talk about themselves. That was a thing where I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's so funny, John. I think we talked about this. I think it was Scott's topic about like other people's personal stories. And you were
Mhm.
like, I don't like talking about myself. And I totally noticed that. You know, every time I'm like, so John, what's going on? And you're like, I don't know, you. I'm like, oh, you just brought it back to me. My powers don't work here. You have no powers here. You start crackling like fucking that old king in Two Towers. Um, the only way to get the best out of an argument is to avoid it. Like, apparently, this is like the building blocks of who I am. Like, I didn't even think about it until I was like going through this book again. You know, I mentioned how I don't like arguing, and this might be from that, at least when it's written down. Like, you know, it's better to just not do that, approach it differently. That's the other thing. I learned diplomacy from this thing. You know, you have to consider the other person's ego and stuff. You know, you have to be able to kind of, at first this seems manipulative, but it's not, because he always reinforces something like, oh, act like you're interested, but be sincere, you know? So I just always like that. The way this is written, he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Like, this actually reminds me of my grandpa. Like, he was very well-mannered, polite, just a gentleman throughout, you know, through and through. So I felt like someone like my grandpa wrote this fucking book, because it's very old. I think it's from like the 30s. Um, and then throughout, he draws people throughout history, how they dealt with, you know, employees, or, you know, making deals with people and stuff. So I just really loved this book. It was a life changer, you know. What do you guys have to say about how to win friends and influence people?
Yeah, I love that book too. I read it not as formative an age as you. I think I read it in my early 20s. Um just because it was like on some list of books to read or something, and I was just reading whatever. And I went into it just thinking like, okay, this is going to be like some sleazy like how to trick people into being your friends. But yeah, to your point, it's like all very sincere, and like it's like kind of how to make people like you because you're being a good person, not like how to trick people into liking you, which I feel like a lot of stuff might be otherwise. And it is remarkable how relevant it is like 90 years later, or however however long. Like, it's pretty crazy. Um some of the stuff I'm I'm not able to actually do based on my own anxieties. Like, I hate saying people's names because I just have this phobia of getting it wrong. Even if it's like someone I've known as like an acquaintance forever, like I'm 100% sure that's their name, but I still don't feel comfortable like going out on a limb and like maybe like somehow messing it up or something. Like, that's just a weird thing I don't understand. But everything else, like, yeah, get people to talk about themselves. Um, like my current boss, I think, is just very good at that. Like, I'm like I see him as kind of an introvert, but like he has to like turn it on in the corporate world, and like I'll see him interacting with people, and it almost seems like lessons out of the book, like how he'll just like get people to talk about their hobbies, and um then like if it's someone who he has to deal with, like he'll actually like take a real interest in their hobbies and then learn more about it so he can like discuss it with them like in the future. And it's not like he's pretending to be interested in that stuff, like that actually becomes a legitimate interest of his, and I'm always impressed by that kind of stuff.
This makes me want to use people's names better and more often because I definitely have people that are like students or something at work where they have similar names and I feel like I'm gonna screw it up and and then I'm like, ah, yeah. And it's like I feel like I should use their names more often and be consistent with it because then I would be more confident in their names. Um, I've never read this book that you're talking about, but I have read a certain self-help book. It's called How to Be an Adult in Relationships.
Mm.
And I got this book. It was just at the bookstore in Eau Claire, Books a Million, or I forget what it was called. Um, but I saw this book, and I think I had broken up with like I was in a long-term relationship, and then we broke up, and I was single, and I saw this self-help book, and I was for whatever reason I bought it, and when I bought it, I didn't think it was about like relationships. I thought it was about like just any kind of relationship that you could have with a person. I didn't think of it like as couples, but it was kind of based off of like how to like be mindful of the person you're with, and you can apply all of these to like someone you're in a relationship with, or just any acquaintance, or a friend, or a coworker. You can apply all of these things to them. And it was just like being mindful, drawing boundaries, being consistent, and like, don't let someone, if someone's like arguing with you, just, say your piece, but then don't say anything kind of beyond that. Don't make it like a back and forth, like a lot of similar things to it sounds like that book. Um, like some of the things it would talk about would be like being attentive and being present in the moment, which is similar. And then like showing appreciation when somebody does something, be thankful. And like when I read this book at this time in my life, it was kind of right before I started to go to school. I went back to college, and like I took a lot of these things that I had learned from this book and I would apply it. And like it was so strange because I had never really made a like I found it hard to make friends or like meet new people and have them even want to hang around me. But suddenly like just doing like the little things of like acknowledging them, asking questions, like acting interested in what they had to say, and suddenly, like, people are like way more attracted to talking to you and to being friends with you. And it was just like, I don't know, it was like, optimizing a video game or something where I'm like, oh shit, I should have been using these button combinations the whole time in social situations. And I'm just so socially awkward. And I've just been like in that default mode of being socially awkward. It was like, it was nice to kind of like learn something and then apply it and then have like instant results. It was very crazy. And I feel like I should read more self-help books because they're very helpful and I had a great experience, but I somehow have not self-helped myself recently.
May I recommend How to Win Friends and Influence People? Oh man. So I wrote down a lot of just like uh I don't know, bullet points of the book, but there's also great stories, how this was applied in real life and stuff. There's a lot of great little stories there. But then there's also like, um, be interesting by being interested, and that's definitely it's true. It's so crazy. And it also I noticed I think at the beginning of the book or something like that where it's like you should read this book like once a month. I'm like, oh, that's a little excessive, but I do know that every time I would pick this book up, like, every whatever 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, it would be like getting a tune up or something. I would be like, oh yeah, I should be doing this, and just a nice reminder to kind of stay on that path because I consider myself a pretty decent person. Want to be. So yeah, this is definitely like, hey, fucking remind yourself what you're doing and to, yeah. It's a great book, amazing book. Do you guys have any books that you would consider like life changing? I mean, like that's definitely one for me.
The Bible.
Ah, there we go. And John, green eggs and ham.
That's right. I will not eat then. Or will I?
Oh
Oh
man,
man, that's a good question. I mean, I'm sure there are um like, there's definitely like just concepts from like different books that I think about all the time. Um and like honestly this is one of them that like I I do think about quite a bit, having only read it once, but just, you know, thinking of all the good lessons that are in it. I've read ones about like the philosophy of money. I think there was one that was called, and it really helps you think about um, how to think of money management in terms of like, is it actually giving you happiness, or are you just trying to like gain money for the sake of gaining it? That type
wow.
of thing. Um, yeah, I'll have to look through my Goodreads and come back with a deja vu.
You know what's not a good book? Rich Dad Poor Dad. You guys ever read that?
Mm-mm.
It's like
No, never heard of it.
it's like all these stories and you're like, okay, what do you, get to the point or whatever. Basically, it's like become a realtor. Like that's all it is. All these anecdotes and stories and they finally arrive to like what they're trying to say and it's just yeah, be a realtor. I I couldn't believe it, you know?
It's like a Christmas Story when it's like drink your Ovaltine. That was the message the entire time. Like I thought it was going to be something like really amazing.
Oh
Be an
my gosh.
exploitative landlord.
Talk about like books like this makes me think like, oh man, we should do like a book club and talk about all the books we read. And then I'm like, wait, I don't fucking read books. Like I
We
have
should read
nothing to
books.
contribute.
Wait, you guys are reading books?
I've been trying to read this for fucking years on the road.
Oh,
I
the
c-
Kerouac?
yeah, I enjoy it, but I just can't get through it. You know what it is? I think I figured this out a couple years ago. I don't think I could read fiction books anymore because the past couple books that just blew my mind and helped me out and whatever have been nonfiction books like Change Your Brain or wait, Train Your Brain, Change Your Mind, something like that, you know? And that's kind of like Buddhism and shit. And it's just reading a story by someone just it doesn't grab me anymore. It's really bizarre. Um,
Yeah, I feel like Dharma Bums by Kerouac caught my attention way more than On the Road did. Um, maybe give that one a try. But
yeah,
I don't know. I love like sci-fi that has a lot of philosophy in it. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds in my opinion. Like it's a engaging narrative to like keep you going, but it's still like giving you deep thoughts about life and the universe and everything. Like if they can pull that off, like that's the ideal for me.
that's sweet. Cool.
I know
Um,
a life-changing book that I didn't read, but I listened to the book on tape, and the book on tape was like 18 or 19 hours, so it's a bit of an investment. Um, but it's a book, it's about World War II, if you're like a history buff, but it's also kind of like it's called Ordinary Men, and it's by Christopher Browning, and it's about World War II and like the Holocaust in like Poland, but it's like ordinary men. The title is referencing like the Nazi soldiers that committed all these atrocities and like why they did these things. And it just kind of comes down to his explanation for a lot of it is kind of just like the psychological situation that they were in, where like it's kind of like a mob mentality where like if you see a lot of people in a large group and people start fighting, suddenly like the rule of law is you're like, well, what's the big deal if I throw a punch or if I throw a rock? Because mentally you're like, this bad thing is going to happen anyways, and I'm only one person. I can't stop it on my own. So, like, I can't stop it. So, even if I don't participate, it's going to happen anyways. So it's about like the psychology of like, even if I don't do this, somebody else is going to do it. So what the hell does it matter if I do it? And it's just like the psychology behind it. And it was very fascinating. Then there's a whole lot more like history and details of like actual events that happen. It's not just the psychological part. The psychological part where he kind of breaks that part down is more towards the end of the book after he explains like all the history of like all these different towns and like what happened over all these dates. And it's a really incredible book. It's super fascinating, but it was like super intense because it's about the Holocaust. Like the 2 weeks I listened to this book on tape, it like my mental state was like fucked up. It was so to like hear about these horrible things that happened, like it like fucking wears on you.
What was the title? Just Following Orders, or
Ordinary Men.
oh, the prequel to Ordinary People, I hope.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my God, it's a wonderful movie about a falling domestic family. Anyways, with Judd Hirsch as the psychiatrist. Anyways, is that it? Are we done?
That's it. We're done.
All right. Well, hey, EC Hometown Radio listeners, it's been real, man. We've produced about 52 episodes. Maybe not, probably not, but near there, one for every week. You get the idea. But yeah, listen, go to the website and you could
What is the
still
website?
find us on Spotify. Well, I was going to ask you to in our pre-taped segment, but
Well, I just say the email address for sending in topics, right? Go
all right.
to www.afewGoldilockBears.com. Singular Goldilock there, just so you know. Click on where to listen, and you can find direct links to like where our show is on like Apple Podcasts and Pocket Casts and Overcasts and Spotify's and YouTube and all that stuff.
Yes. I was Vincent Cloud.
I was John Nemitz.
And I'm David Lauer.
Tell them about the email, John.
Oh, well, like we're sick of coming up with our own topics, so get these lazy listeners and viewers to help us out a bit. So if you have something that you love, hate, or are indifferent to, send an email to topics@afewgoldilockbears.com. We'll put a link in the show notes here and tell us what you love, hate, or are indifferent to and why. And maybe we'll talk about it on the show.